The Florida Department of Education and the Santa Rosa County School Board have a survey available for you. This survey is for parents of students with individual education plans who are receiving special education services during the 2017-18 school year. All information provided will remain confidential, and you may submit one online survey for each child receiving services. The survey period is February 1st through May 31st, and it is for all parents of children with IEPs in pre-K through 12th grade. You can access the survey by going online to www.esesurvey.com. We thank you for completing this survey so that we might serve you better. Join us on May 6th at 10 a.m. for a special Mother's Day brunch and fashion show. This 2-hour event will feature local moms and special needs children. This event is open to the community and it is free for special needs moms, $10 for any other guest. If you'd like to attend this event, please RSVP at www.emeraldcoastexceptionalfamilies.org or call 850.
Good evening and welcome to the April Cafe, Blended Cafe this evening. We are so glad that you could join us tonight, and we are looking forward to some good conversations. And the topics tonight will be occupational therapy, physical therapy, and autism as a whole. I'd like to remind our parents and viewers that you are welcome to join us via the internet and the web by typing in your chat box any questions that you have for us. And at that time, we will be happy to answer them and see if we can't work together in getting you all the information that you need. So with that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Gary Mitchell tonight, and he is the program facilitator here in Santa Rosa County for our occupational and physical therapy program. So welcome.
Glad to be here.
All right. Why don't you start tonight by giving us an overview of what we typically will call during IEP meetings OTPT, that's occupational and physical therapy. Give us kind of an overview of the program and who would be eligible for it and what services are available.
All right, well, one of the main things is to realize a lot of people know what occupational and physical therapy is if you've had surgery or you're doing some rehabilitation. One thing to keep in mind that OT and PT in the schools has to be school related. It's not for rehabilitation. It's a process just like any other eligibility for ESE. There's a screener that the students go through. If they looks like they may have an issue either with fine motor skills or gross motor skills, then they would move on to a formal evaluation done by our occupational and physical therapists within the school district to see if they need those services. Also, educational occupational physical therapy is all about accessing the curriculum, being able to meet those needs that they have within the classroom and within around the school. Physical therapy also goes into being able to navigate the school system. One thing to keep in mind also is to remember that OT and PT are considered a related service. That means that they have to be related to something else. They cannot just stand alone. You can't have an IEP written for a student just because they need occupational therapy or physical therapy. And again, one of the things that I can stress in school, we get a lot of handwriting concerns. That's the big thing. My student or my child has terrible handwriting. They automatically need occupational therapy. Again, it's a process. They go through the steps just like any other program. Some kids just have bad handwriting, and unless there's something underlying that causes them, they may not be eligible to receive that occupational therapy.
That's interesting. What kinds of things would make a child eligible to receive occupational or physical therapy? What kind of concerns would a parent have or see at home that may initiate them to think about it and talk to their liaison?
Well, some of the things that would fall into place for our occupational therapy, those fine motor skills, it might be some of those kids that maybe they can't hold a pencil correctly. Maybe no matter how many times you try, they just can't get the grasp of the pencil. Maybe when they're writing, they tire and they can't continue. Those are warning signs just to be able to look and see maybe something's going on. Some of it may be ability to copy things from either the board or from another piece of paper, being able to do that, having a visual perception problem. There's a lot of things that you can just kind of look for. Again, if there's a concern, it would be brought up originally to their guidance counselor and their teacher, and the teacher would have some access to be able to try some interventions to see if maybe something as easy as a pencil grip that may help the problem. We have just developed on our ESE website a whole list of strategies for presenting problems. If a student's having trouble with handwriting, there's a list of strategies that parents and teachers can look at and try some of these to see if that's something that could work. Physical therapy, again, those are gross motor, and that's all about being able to access the school. Can the student walk up steps if they need to? Can the students walk down the hall without bumping into things? Can the student access the things they need to on the playground? Those types of things.
Okay. Well, again, I'd like to remind parents to please, if you have questions, make sure that you type them in, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. Mr. Mitchell, say a parent contacts and they go through your process and the child becomes eligible for occupational or physical therapy. According to what you just said, they have to have an eligibility area for another exceptionality, correct?
Correct.
So what does that look like in the school setting when a child would get occupational or physical therapy? Are they pulled out? Is it something that happens every day? Who are the people that would be coming into the classroom to work with their children?
Well, for our students that are eligible for occupational therapy, again, this is all access to the school environment or the school curriculum, and a lot of times the occupational therapist will actually go into the classroom because a lot of those fine motor skills, that goes with gripping things or writing or that visual perceptual thing, and they'll work with the teacher to come up with strategies and things that the students can work on in the class. A lot of those are in the classroom because we want them to be able to access everything in the classroom.
So they collaborate then?
They'll collaborate with the teachers. The physical therapy is a little bit different because you're dealing with gross motor skills. A lot of that can be really distracting if you try to do that in the classroom with the whole class. So a lot of these students are actually pulled for some individual time.
Okay.
We also, parents, if you have questions, all the schools, the school liaison, if you have that question about what is educationally relevant versus medical relevant, we actually have a brochure that all the schools have. I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of gives an explanation about what school-based and medical-based are, the difference between those.
Oh, very good. And I think we have, nope, they're just messing with us tonight. So, well, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for coming in and talking to us. And if you, as a parent or teacher, have a question about occupational and physical therapy, you can give Mr. Mitchell a call here at the BAC, and he'll be happy to answer, or send him a message through the web on email. All right, thank you. We're going to a quick commercial, and then we will be back with our ladies to talk about autism.
For many special needs children, haircuts are difficult. Come see a stylist who truly understands at Eileen on Style. All appointments are private, and the cost is $15 per cut. Emerald Coast Exceptional Families will help you prepare with a social story if needed. And we will be on hand with snacks and sensory items. To schedule an appointment, call Eileen at 850-582-1826. That's Eileen on Style. April 21st is the date for the Emerald Coast Exceptional Families Yard Sale. That's right, we're hosting a yard sale Saturday, April 21st from 7 a.m. The yard sale will be hosted at 2012 Pritchard Point in Navarre. All proceeds will go towards our Special Needs Mom Retreat in November. Come join us at the yard sale, April 21st, starting at 7 a.m. Hello everybody, April 22nd is the day for the Fireman's Challenge and Family Fun Day. Join us for a day of fun and fitness sponsored by Uplift Fitness. This is the 5th annual Different Not Less Fireman's Challenge. It's going to be held at Navarre Beach Fire Station and it's going to be to honor Autism Awareness Month. Come join us on April 22nd where there'll be food and raffle prizes and more. All funds will be donated to the Emerald Coast Exceptional Families Organization. That's April 22nd. Join us at the Navarre Beach Fire Station.
Ready, Debbie? Coming to you.
All right, welcome back. We have 3 lovely ladies that have joined us tonight, and they all work in different capacities with students with autism or students that are on the spectrum. So I will do a quick introduction, and then they can go right to talking to you about the services that we offer. So first we have Laura Grunfeld. She is a BCBA, and I will let her explain that to you in a few moments. We also have Celeste Rivenbark, who's a program facilitator for autism, and Nicole Kennard, who is our program facilitator, and she works with our program that we call the CBSA. That's a lot of initials. I have to make sure I'm thinking when I say those so I don't say BCBA instead. But when it comes to her, she will talk to you about what those initials mean and what type of services and curriculum goes on in that classroom. So with that, welcome. And Celeste, we'll let you get started and tell us a little bit about like our social thinking programs, what type of programs that we have for students that may be on the spectrum.
Okay. We created social thinking classrooms in the spring of 2015. We started with 1 classroom at King Middle, and now we are up to currently 14, but next year we'll be adding 5 additional ones, so we'll be at 19. Social thinking classrooms are for those students that in the past have really struggled either socially or behaviorally or academically, to where inclusion services were not enough for the students. So we have created these specialized classrooms that are outside the box type of thinking to really hit the needs of those students. Everything we utilize in those classrooms, research-based, variety of seating options, technology-rich,
different kinds of lighting, and increased amount of supervision in the classroom. So the ratio is a lot lower than it would be in an inclusion classroom.
Some supplemental reading and math support for those that are either above grade level or below grade level. So we offer that through our iReady program.
Our teachers are trained and our paras are trained. They're asked to go through some additional trainings above and beyond. And we have an amazing group of teachers who have really made changes in our students' lives.
And all of our teachers currently are RBT certified. That means Registered Behavior Technician. They go through 40 hours of ABA training for that.
So all of your teachers go through that.
Yes.
So currently we have 14.
Right, and all 14 have been through the RBT training. So they all have 40 hours of ABA training.
That's great.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about, say, the curriculum that occurs within that classroom. Are the students that are in these classrooms, what type of assessment do they take? I know a lot of our parents are aware that we have our Gen Ed assessment, which is the FSA, and then for a very small portion of our students that become eligible for that, which is again a very strict criteria, that's called the FSAA. So what type of curriculum and assessment goes on within these classrooms?
Okay, so we have two types of social thinking classrooms. We have social thinking FSA and we have social thinking access. So we have 12 currently social thinking FSA classrooms. So that means those are students on general education standards who take the Florida Standard assessment. Then we have two classrooms at King Middle School and Milton High School that are for students with significant cognitive disabilities who are working off of the Florida Standard access points. So we do have both types of classrooms, but the majority are on the general education standards, 12 of those.
And with those classrooms, what's different about those classrooms versus our social thinking classrooms versus, say, an inclusion class? How does that look different, and how does that help our students that are on the spectrum?
Okay, so like Laura said, the low student to teacher ratio, we maintain that 3-to-1 ratio in the access classrooms, and then we have in our FSA classrooms a max of 11 students with 1 teacher and 2 paras. And so when students are ready to go out, because our ultimate goal anytime we have students in our social thinking classrooms, both access and FSA, is to get them back in that inclusion setting. So we really try to hit those deficit areas that they have, either socially, academically, or behaviorally, and then we gradually get them back with parapro support. As they're successful in those inclusion environments, we fade back the para. So we kind of work on that backwards inclusion. We give them the skill sets they need initially, but then our ultimate goal is to get them back in inclusion. But we do have that heavy support as far as staffing and teachers and paras who are trained to work with individuals either on the autism spectrum or ones that have social deficits or anxiety. You know, those are typically maybe even some obsessive compulsive too. We have some kids with some obsessive compulsive behaviors. You'll also see that our teachers are going to get extensive training with accommodations, so they're really good with looking to see whether it be, you know, the variety of seating, the technology rich. So, you know, if a student has trouble with handwriting, which is a lot of our students struggle with that handwriting piece, that we offer different ways for them to get their information across, whether it be an iPad with a wireless keyboard. Every one of our students in social thinking have that as an option. You know, so that's definitely there. And then, like I talked about, that iReady, that really provides that intensive academic support, either enriching what they need and enhancing, because we have students who are gifted in these classrooms. We have all ability levels, just like a general education classroom. But then students who are struggling academically, that'll help as well. So we really put that intervention piece in there.
How do you work with their social skills? What happens in the classroom, and what does that look like as far as how you work with the students on improving those social skills?
Okay, so at the elementary and middle school and high school, it looks a little bit different. Middle school and high school, the students in our social thinking classrooms have an actual elective for social thinking. So they will come in there, and we have Michelle Garcia Winter curriculum that we utilize, along with zones of regulation, the behavior code.
The behavior code's an amazing book.
Yes.
It's by Jessica Minahan. She's a BCBA like Nicole and I, and just focusing on that there's a great increase in percentage of kids that have anxiety disorders that, you know, maybe aren't diagnosed with that. So that's a wonderful book that parents can get off of Amazon and read.
What is your role? You said you're a BCBA. Can you explain to our parents what that is and what your role is? Because the three of you work as a team, typically. So being a BCBA, what is that, and how does that work into the programs?
I'm a board certified behavior analyst. I have been since 1997. Came to the district several years ago, and I support Nicole in her CBSA classrooms with those kids who are displaying some more significant behavior problems, and I support Celeste in social thinking. I'm also responsible for completing functional behavior assessments and writing positive behavior intervention plans.
And what is the FBA?
The FBA is just really the why a student is doing what they're doing behaviorally. So why are they being aggressive? Why are they crying during transition? Trying to figure out the why. And then the behavior intervention plans are, what are we going to do? How are we going to support that student? How are we going to increase the replacement behavior? So increasing behaviors we want to see and not just targeting, working on the target behaviors. We need to give them skills because it's a skill deficit. So we really want to improve that.
Very good. And with that, Nicole works with in our CBSA. Explain to our parents what a CBSA is, and then maybe that'll help in looking at how all three of you work in conjunction, and explain what that is, because again, with ESE, that's initials, and we all know we have lots of those. So explain to them just a little bit about your program and what you do, and what type of services are offered in there.
CBSA stands for Communication, Behavior, Social, and Academics. We currently have 36 units from K to 12 transition programs, and I have 17 pre-K units. These units focus very heavily on increasing communication and social skills of children, and then decreasing problem behaviors by increasing language. We focus very heavily on using applied behavior analysis principles. We have a very specialized curriculum.
That is given in your classrooms.
That's correct.
And what exactly does that measure? I know you said the language,
right.
But how is that reported, and what does that look like for our parents? As far as is it in a scale score, or is it by months?
Okay, so it's a progress monitoring tool that the parents are given a report the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year, and it's given in months.
So what type of student is it? Is a CBSA classroom just for students on the spectrum, or what type of students would benefit from the program?
It's not just for students on the spectrum, so we do have students. It's mainly for students with limited communication, so we have students that we just need to increase a lot of language.
So they could be any exceptionality?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So how did the three of you work together? Say we have a new student that comes into our district, or we have a student that is just declared eligible for the program. What kinds of decisions are made to decide which classrooms would best benefit the student?
Well, if a student moves in with an IEP under autism spectrum disorder, the team will look at that IEP together, look at students' current placement, needs, and what those goals and objectives really look at. So we base where we place them and who actually oversees, that student's transition into our district based on what that current IEP says from whatever district we receive them from. So, we'll look at, is that student on general education standards, or is that a student with significant cognitive disabilities that is on access points? So that'll kind of determine, is that a student that needs more of Nicole's program or even Tiffany's access classrooms, or is that a student that needs more social thinking, or is that a general education student with inclusion services? So we really have to look at what's in that current IEP to determine who's the program facilitator in charge of that one.
Very good. What about when we talked about the 14 schools, how does that break up as far as elementary, middle, and high?
Okay, so we have classrooms available at all now. We started initially just in the middle school because that's where our greatest needs were. We were losing a lot of students to private schools or homeschool because parents were fearful of leaving one teacher and going to six. And that, you know, the social deficits, the amount of supervision, those kind of things really were fearful for them. So we created these units in response to that need. So it started at middle school, but we do have elementary, middle, and high available on both ends of our county, South and North End.
And the teachers are all specifically trained. Do you connect with any outside resources at all?
Absolutely. We utilize CARD, Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. You know, even the Sacred Heart Autism Center with Debbie Kermis, we're in close contact with her. Autism Pensacola at times will attend meetings with us and offer trainings. And then Fiddlers, our local agency, will provide training for both our teachers and parents. And I think on some of our advertisements, we're showing some of those tonight.
We are actually, at the end, we have quite a few announcements for our parents that will help connect them with outside resources and just also events that's going on.
Right.
The Emerald Coast Exceptional Families program that's new to our South End families has been amazingly supportive. I've gone and done a training, and so we're really excited that our South End folks have a group of professionals that is willing to offer such support.
They really are. They're a group of families that come together, and the really good thing is they work with us at the school system in helping us to understand where the parents are coming from, what needs our parents may have, and it's nice to have that outside agency that helps with that, because sometimes they feel comfortable in speaking to them, and so that helps us a lot. Do you have anything within these programs? It sounds like they were developed maybe to help a growing need within our district, that at the time what we were doing wasn't really meeting that need. It was assisting with it, but not meeting that need. How successful have these programs been, and what have you heard back from our parents and our teachers as far as what the benefits are? Because coming from the teachers, they're the ones during the daytime that works with our kiddos one-on-one every day. Are they seeing success? And are they seeing implementation bumps? Because some of our parents out there may think it's just them or just their child that's experiencing it. So what kind of success rate are we seeing?
I think overall they've been really successful. We have teachers that text or email us on a daily basis that talk about, hey, so-and-so is now included for this amount of periods and they have the highest grade in the class. Socially on target, they're making their behavioral percentage every day. We'll have teachers that email us what used to be called DEA, but now we're using unified testing. That their student, you know, increased their level from this to this. So we're getting those kind of updates, I think, on a daily basis, which is what we want to hear. There's always bumps in the road. I think the biggest bumps we run into are at the middle school and high school, as far as finding teachers who are certified in all the different subject areas they have to teach. So we have to be more creative in the scheduling and how we hire for those teachers at the middle school and high school.
And we've seen academic progress, and I'm excited about that. I think the bigger thing for me is when parents text me and say, my ninth grader just had a friend come over, and they sat and played video games together, and I know that's not really social. I'm like, yes it is. That's huge, especially when they've never had a friend come over before. You know, so they're making those connections with people in their classroom. Kids who are going to school dances for the very first time, and that being a typical high school kid or middle school kid, those are the milestones that I think touch my heart the most with our students.
Because most of these kids are the ones that their school-based experiences have not been that positive so far. So parents are now seeing that they have been successful, and not only in this classroom, but what the whole goal is to get them out and they're successful in those inclusion classrooms as well.
Nicole, I know you're relatively new
Right,
in your
yes.
position. What kind of response have you got from the CBSA classrooms as far as your teachers? Are they feeling successful, and are they feeling like their students are making adequate progress?
Yes, I've actually gotten from a few of my teachers. I got one. Actually, last week I went to visit one of the middle school teachers who told me that the parent for the first time was able to take a child to Walmart for an entire trip, which they've never been able to do. Their life they always have to do Walmart, but the first time the child was actually able to go into Walmart with a picture list and able to get the 3 items on the list, make the next check, and then go home. So they were very
That could be a very large accomplishment. With that, when we're talking about the picture list, talk a little bit about assistive technology. I know you talked about it being a technology-rich environment. What kind of technology is in there? Are there alternate ways for our students to respond? What is the purpose of the assistive technology? How does it help?
Okay, and it helps kids in different ways. So our big thing that we utilize is iPads and wireless keyboards. So we utilize that based on handwriting research that we've seen from Kennedy Krieger, and the struggles our kids on the spectrum have in regards to handwriting. We also utilize the iPad and various technology for social skills instruction. So there's quite a bit of apps and social stories that we will use on the iPad. We also utilize, some of our classrooms will have smart boards and Mimeo strips. So there's different things that our teachers will either write grants for or their schools will provide. We have teachers doing really neat things. A couple of ours have done coding with their kids. So a lot of our students know how to code and are learning some skill sets that are, applicable for sure in today's society. So,
The math worksheet, where you can take a picture.
Oh,
There's
the
an app
apps.
where you can take a picture of the math worksheet, and instead of the student working out the math problems, pencil paper, they can actually do it on the iPad and then email it to their teacher. So that, oh my gosh, I've got 6 math worksheets to do. Well, if it's on the iPad, it doesn't seem so overwhelming to them.
Yeah, sometimes just the presentation of a worksheet, and it's like, oh goodness, another worksheet. So it just changes the view of what they're getting.
So the students can respond in a different manner
Absolutely.
with it. I know we had this discussion, I think it was last year, talking about the handwriting. Why do you think that is such a deficit for our students on the spectrum?
Talk about Kennedy Krieger.
Well, it's Kennedy Krieger did a study, and that's through Johns Hopkins University, and it's very technical. So I'll Laura explain it. So Kennedy Krieger, if you're watching, please do not quote me, but basically they did MRIs on kids with autism while they were handwriting, and then neurotypical kids while they were handwriting. The brain responded in various different ways. The neurotypical brain, lots of different filing cabinets, if you will, were firing all at the same time. With the students, and not all of the students or the patients with ASD, some of those spots didn't fire. So basically what happens is when they pick up a pencil, they're having to remember how to make the letters. And that's okay in kindergarten and in 1st grade. But by 2nd grade, the expectation is to write a paragraph. Well, if you're having to remember how to make the capital T, the lowercase h, the lowercase e, the fluidity is not there. So kids get super frustrated, and then they just throw their pencil down, or they shut down, or they exhibit some sort of target behavior that's going to get them out of that handwriting assignment. So with allowing them alternate ways to respond through the iPad or other various technologies, what we have found is really tell us what they know. There's one student in our district who actually wrote a book once we said he didn't have to handwrite anymore. He got on the computer and he wrote a book. So that was pretty amazing, and he was super excited that he was able to do that, and he knows more about dinosaurs than probably anybody I know. So that was wonderful to see that.
That is, because there's a lot of neurotypical and adults that can't do that themselves.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. We have a question that's come in, and that is, do any kids communicate through AAC devices in the social thinking classrooms?
I'm not going to say that there wouldn't ever be, but I don't think right now we currently, every single one of our students in the social thinking classrooms are verbal and very social, but there's those social deficits, those miscues that occur. So they all have pretty good language. In our access classrooms, there are a couple of students who were on a BB map and former students of Nicole's who have graduated on up and they're ready for more of that academic side of things, but still have some communication deficits. But even in those cases, those students are all verbal.
So for the parents out there that may not know, what is an AAC device?
That's just an augmentative communication device. So we have students who communicate, and Nicole can expand more, but either with an iPad or, a Dynavox or a Big Mac or those kind of things. There's devices out there that if a student doesn't have a mode of communication, will assist them in that communication. We have some students that utilize pictures, like a PECS program, or utilize sign language. So she has a variety of ways that her students learn to communicate based on what their strengths and needs are.
So do you see, to go along with that, do you see the way that the program is developed, could a student on an AAC device ever make it in and through the social thinking, or has it not been? What would be the reasons it wouldn't be successful for the child?
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't had a student currently with that need. We have students with AAC devices in general education. So absolutely a student with an AAC device could be in a social thinking classroom. It's really based on, again, looking at that IEP and the student's needs and the evaluation information and what type of placement would best fit that student's needs.
So it's very, very geared towards the need of each individual student.
Absolutely.
as to what supports would help our children throughout any of our programs.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that sometimes gets overlooked in thought processes, is if just because a child is labeled any exceptionality, whether it's autism or language impaired or developmentally delayed, even within those categories, each of our kiddos are very different and needs different types of supports. So is that something that you see a lot throughout your programs, that you're really specifying in the IEPs and in what's happening in the classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. In regards to autism, we have students with autism that are served in every single type of classroom and in our district. So the exceptionality does not drive where a student is placed. It's all based on their needs, what that evaluation information says, and the IEP team decides is the best placement for that student.
And I think that's something that we see or hear a lot of, is the services is not a setting, you know, because a child needs support, or because a child meets the criteria for one eligibility doesn't mean they automatically go to a self-contained, or they automatically go through what used to be called a resource, that it's all broken down and looking at individually for our kiddos.
Right.
That's on the spectrum.
We even have students with a medical diagnosis of autism that never need ESE services while they're in our district. So, it's not based on a diagnosis or an eligibility. It's really on that student's needs.
And, you bring that point up, and that's something that we also hear a lot about. So you're saying because they have a medical diagnosis, are you saying that because they have a medical diagnosis, they've gone to the doctor has said that the child has autism, that doesn't mean they can come right into the school and become eligible for services?
No, so we, just like any other eligibility, we have to go through what's called the MTSS process. We have to look at interventions first and see if those interventions are successful. If we get through those interventions and students not responding as we would like, then we look at formal evaluations. Once evaluations come in, we look at the state criteria that's been laid out for us to see if they meet school-based eligibility for autism. So there is definitely a difference between a medical diagnosis and a school-based eligibility.
And I think that is something that we have to have that discussion quite often, because I know we'll get a diagnosis written on a prescription pad from the physician, but that's not enough to make that child eligible for educational services. They have to have that educational diagnosis also.
That's not something Santa Rosa County decided.
No.
That's DOE.
Right. We have a state ruling that we have to utilize, and we've come up with, as a district, a checklist that makes sure that we look at every single one of those criteria that's laid out in front of us, and does the student meet that eligibility.
We have another question, and it is directed to Queen Laura. So it must be somebody that is familiar with you. So they are asking Queen Laura if are the 6th grades separate from the 7th and 8th graders at Woodlawn Middle School? They heard this and would like you to elaborate.
I wonder if it's Holly. 6th grade is a totally separate unit from the 7th and 8th graders. Typically our 6th graders stay within the social thinking classroom, because that's a totally different experience than 5th grade. As Celeste said, they normally have one 5th grade teacher, and then 6th grade they've got 6 different classrooms with six different expectations, 6 different sets of rules. It's very frightening for 6th graders, even our gen ed kids. That's a scary prospect for parents and children. So the 6th grade at Woodlawn Beach is separate from the 7th and 8th graders, because the 7th and 8th graders typically are getting included more and pushing out, so that by the time they get to high school, they're able to be pushed out most of the day with support.
That sounds great. And also along with that, teachers who teach 6th grade has a different certification requirement than teachers who have 7th grade and above, because our elementary has, their certification is K through 6. And we typically will call even a gen ed classroom at elementary, it's a self-contained, because the kiddos stay with one teacher most of the time, almost all day, even though sometimes in the upper grades, the 4th and 5th grades, there do some rotations within there. So that makes it a little bit easier in 6th grade to be able to teach all the subject areas. So that's a good thing. Queen Laura, I wonder if we should know why your name is Queen Laura.
It's a very long story, Miss Anderson.
Longer than we have today.
Yes, but I have self-proclaimed myself as Queen Laura. And for some reason it just caught on.
It just caught on.
There may be some mandating of that by me, but I will not elaborate on that.
All right, parents, we're getting very, very close to the time where we will say good evening, but I wanted to give you another opportunity to, if you have questions, please go ahead and send them in to us now so that we can make sure that we address them. And at this time, we're going to go to a commercial break, but if you have a question, we will address it when we come back to say good evening.
The Florida Department of Education and the Santa Rosa County School Board have a survey available for you. This survey is for parents of students with individual education plans who are receiving special education services during the 2017-18 school year. All information provided will remain confidential, and you may submit one online survey for each child receiving services. The survey period is February 1st through May 31st, and it is for all parents of children with IEPs in pre-K through 12th grade. You can access the survey by going online to www.esesurvey.com. We thank you for completing this survey so that we might serve you better. Join us on May 6th at 10 a.m. for a special Mother's Day brunch and fashion show. This 2-hour event will feature local moms and special needs children. This event is open to the community and it is free for special needs moms, $10 for any other guest. If you'd like to attend this event, please RSVP at www.emeraldcoastexceptionalfamilies.org or call 850-396-1008. Please join us on Sunday, May 6th. For many special needs children, haircuts are difficult. Come see a stylist who truly understands at Eileen on Style. All appointments are private and the cost is $15 per cut. Emerald Coast Exceptional Families will help you prepare with a social story if needed. And we will be on hand with snacks and sensory items. To schedule an appointment, call Eileen at 850-582-1826. That's Eileen on Style. April 21st is the date for the Emerald Coast Exceptional Families Yard Sale. That's right, we're hosting a yard sale Saturday, April 21st from 7 a.m. The yard sale will be hosted at 2012 Pritchard Point in Navarre. All proceeds will go towards our Special Needs Mom Retreat in November. Come join us at the yard sale, April 21st, starting at 7 a.m.
Welcome back. Well, as you can see from all the commercials, there is a lot of things going on within our communities, lots of events that parents and families can be a part of, and that's always a very positive thing for the community, because to me it brings the school, community, and family together, and when you can accomplish that, then we make a lot more gains for our students to be successful. Fiddlers is often offering a parent or guardian webinar series. Fiddlers is, for those of you that don't know, it's the Florida Diagnostic Learning Resource Center or Services. And they are a group that offers a lot of training to teachers. They assist our district in providing that, paying for substitutes. They're a very, very resourceful organization, and they are offering a Parent 5 series webinar that will assist you in just kind of understanding the world of ESE. The topics on those will be understanding the world of exceptional student education, understanding the individual education plan, instructional practices, connecting families with agencies and other resources, and family and school partnerships. So if you would like any additional information on that, just go to our website. We have the flyer with the contact information there. You can contact any of your program facilitators, and they will give you information on that or direct you to who can. And I believe the start date is April 23rd, so it will be coming up very quickly. So go to our website and register if you're interested in that, and I think you'll find it very beneficial. It runs April 23rd, April 30th, May 7th, May 14th, and May 21st. So thank you all for joining us this evening. I'd like to remind you that our next Blended Cafe is May 14th, and the topic will be speech and language services and sensory. All right, have a great evening, and we'll see you in May.